Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday. It's time for another edition of Talking Sports. I'm Sergeant Rock. That's Michael Cox.
Hey.
Joe Stovall will be here sometime this afternoon. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. The Fighting Illini, they won by the hair of their chitty chin chin last Saturday. And they're taking on a team that put up 50 points last week. And didn't they do something like 500 some yards?
That was like 700 or something.
700?
Something crazy.
Yeah, Western Kentucky. They come to town tomorrow. Also, the NFL got underway yesterday with Seattle giving Green Bay a good old thumping. Them boys look like they get ready to go to the Super Bowl again.
They did. They looked real good.
They look excellent. Also, Roger Goodell, he set out his policy last week on domestic violence, and already, within a week, one person has been suspended and another is being looked into. We give you all that too. Matter of fact, and all 38 players have started off the season suspended.
Some other people too.
Yep, we'll tell you about those. Also, the Raiderettes, the ex-Raiderettes, you know, they filed suit against the Raiders a few years ago where they're getting $1.25 million. And the 49ers has the highest price tickets.
Got to pay for that new stadium.
Yeah, in the NFL. We got all that and more coming up on this edition of Talking Sports. You be sure and stay tuned.
Welcome back. Talking Redbirds, WBCP 1580.
Excellent ball team.
I'm Mike Shannon.
First place, Redbird.
Yeah,
Only because the Cubs destroyed the Milwaukee Brewers to remove them out of first place.
And of course, it has nothing to do with St. Louis winning ball games.
It has nothing to do with St. Louis winning ball. Because if St. Louis doesn't, if the Cubs don't beat the Brewers, those games cancel themselves out.
The Brewers have lost, what, 9 in a row?
Oh,
St.
man.
Louis beat them last night?
They-
9 in a row.
Ryan Braun need to get another prescription.
Yeah, they doing like they did last year.
Flatline.
That's it.
Well, you think about what's wrong with the Brewers. You got a third baseman that's been in the league for how many years?
20.
Almost.
Didn't you played where before?
Oh, now see, I'm trying to give you a little help,
but-
and you come back with the Cub thing.
My point is, typically when they leave the Cubs, they get better.
No, can't get better. Can't get better.
Lou Brock.
Yeah.
They just do better when they leave the Cubs. Get better, they probably was already good when they was with the Cubs. They just did better after they left the Cubs.
Yeah, well, I will say this for the Cubs. All this young talent that they brought up from the minors. Whew. Baez and Soler, just to name two.
Are they going to keep them?
They've got to. They ain't got nobody left.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
These aren't blind squirrels. No, these are not blind squirrels. These are two of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball in terms of young ball players.
Yes, they are.
And the key here for the Cubs is two things. You just asked the first question: are they going to keep them? And the answer is they have to. They don't have. It's not like the Cubs have a veteran baseball club, and because that veteran baseball
They're young.
club.
They were definitely young.
The second thing is pitching, because as we all three know, pitching determines where you're going to be in this league. I don't care what you got in terms of sticks. The Brewers are a classic example. When your sticks go silent, it's over. Because if you don't have a pitching staff to keep you in close ball games, so the Cubs will have to make sure that they shore up their pitching staff. The last thing is we've talked about for 150 years here on Talking Sports, Wrigley Field.
Come on now. We already know what's going to happen to Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
Whether or not that's going to make a difference when it's complete, that's another thing. So, you know, we have to take a wait-and-see attitude
It's
on
still
that.
the north side of Chicago, no matter what you do in Wrigley Field.
Yeah, but it's still Wrigley Field. I would, if you want to start anew, you got to start anew from the ground up, and that includes that stadium. Putting apartments in the bleachers and, you know, fish tanks on the walls and, you know, turn it into the Marlins of the North.
That's just gonna give the party people a better place to party. That don't mean nothing about the ball club getting better.
You know how the Brewers got that slide? Could you see that out there, the bleachers of Wrigley?
No, I can't.
That would just.
The drunks will be wearing it out. Yeah, everybody trying to get on the jumbotron.
They'd have to have a lifeguard out there.
They get ready to put up 2 big ones too. So we'll see what happens.
But we digress. We started off with baseball, but you have a litany of things that you want to talk about.
Man,
today.
we got a whole bunch of NFL to talk about a little later on, but we're gonna start off with the Fighting Illini.
Who?
Fighting? I mean, what?
You see what happened when you said that?
Yeah, the Fighting Illini. If you went to the game last week, or if you watched it on television, you saw Illinois win by the hair of their chinny chin against a team that they should have handled easily in Youngstown, Ohio.
Let me stop it right there. Why would you say that Illinois should have handled them easily? I want to hear this.
Well, you have to consider Youngstown State is the Alabama of whatever Division 1A is nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you say that Illinois? Are you basing it based on, like Mike said, the division they come from?
I'm basing it on the division that they come from, and that Illinois seemed like a much improved team than last year.
Based on
Playing against themselves.
right, and all the rhetoric that we heard from the coaching staff and other pundits in the area that freshmen become sophomores and they've got Wes Lunt and yada yada. They've got an experienced offensive line.
All the politically correct things you're supposed to say prior to game time.
And now that the game is over,
You was like, oh my.
the Penguins, the Fighting Penguins of Youngstown State, had the football for 40
minutes.
minutes.
And at least against Youngstown State, one big question was answered, and that was could the defense play? And they did. Against Youngstown State.
Right, meaning
But they had the ball for 40
minutes,
meaning
they just didn't give up. They had good scoring defense because they kicked field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. The turning point of the game was when Youngstown State kicked the ball into the back of their own guy on a punt attempt when Illinois was down.
Because they were rolling. Youngstown State was.
Right.
How many rushing yards did they put up? That's the reason why they held the ball. That's the reason why they held the ball so long.
Whatever it was.
Right.
So once again, you know the Illinois run defense still sucks.
Well, but I mean, one could argue that scoring defense is the only defense that matters, and if all you're doing is giving up field goals,
That's not much of an argument.
well, but if all you're doing is giving up field goals or no points, your offense should be able to score at least one touchdown. Because I mean, you got Wes Lunt.
Yeah. And the thing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say on Wes Lunt, and I'll kick it right back to you. The thing that, and you know, this is the first ball game, and you know, you obviously there's an improvement from 1 to 2 in terms of the first game to the second game. But the thing that stood out to me about the Wes Lunt era is that when they're on the opposite side of the 50, he didn't look too good.
Yeah.
When they crossed the 50 is when all the activity from Wes Lunt occurred. But when they had to sustain something, he couldn't do it. And that's why the score was so close for 3 quarters, is because Illinois could not sustain a drive. And if you think about, going back to your point about when the season, before it started, what was the bouquets and the rose petals all about? Illinois' offense.
Right.
Now we got a quarterback, and you know these receivers got somebody they can sling it to, and it'll open up the run game for Young and Ferguson, and they ran for a combined 4 yards.
Donovan maintained his half-yard per carry average.
Right.
So.
39 yards. I think one back ran for like 39. The other one ran for 41.
Yeah.
Now this, and my comment was last week, to determine what kind of team you have going forward is when your talent up front dominate their talent, meaning can your offensive line take guys and move them 2 or 3 yards,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't do it.
And that's what was shocking.
Right. especially when you got 3 seniors on your offensive line.
And aren't they all returning starters, or 4 out of 5?
4 out of 5 are returning starters.
And they're all 300 pounds.
Right. And I just thought that, you would, to take the pressure off of Lunt, they'd be sticking the ball in Donovan Young and Josh Ferguson, just sticking it in their belly and letting them zip zap and hit the edge, and
they still can't block anybody.
And that's where, to me, the line of demarcation is, in terms of what occurred last week and what's going to happen tomorrow.
Ooh, it's going to get ugly tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's one thing I can say about Wes Lunt. There's times he looks very poised back there in the pocket. He looks real comfortable. He don't have happy feet. You don't see him jumping around. He drops back there. He stands there. He scans the field, and he releases the ball. I like that in him.
I think it took, definitely the first half and part of the third quarter, just for him to get comfortable again, because as everybody has said, he hasn't played a football game in 2 years.
Right.
And at about halfway through the second quarter, I sent my brother a text who was at the game. I said, they ain't impressing me at all, and neither is Lunt.
Right.
But then when I said that, I was like, I didn't remember it. He wasn't playing last year.
Right.
So
now,
once he got comfortable,
he looked good.
He looked real good.
And I think that's, to my point, when you got a guy coming in, transfer, sat out a whole year, you would think Ferguson and Young, they're going to be the primary focus of the offense to take the pressure off of him. So when he does have to throw the ball, it's something short, safe, secure, as opposed to having to sling it downfield to Dudek and he making a great catch on the sidelines, or Turner having to make a play.
Allison.
You don't expect these guys to do that, and especially against, and no disrespect to them, but Youngstown State. Going to your point, when you see that on the schedule,
that should be a W.
That is to me, this is a dress rehearsal.
Yep.
We're going to work some guys in. That's when you expected Aaron Bailey maybe to get some run in the second half. Didn't happen.
That kind of surprised me.
Yeah. So
Did he play at all?
No.
That's the point. When we talked about this game last week, the impression all three of us had was that by halftime it'd be like 28-10, and then second half they open it up, and then other guys could get in, and
by the fourth quarter, Bailey's playing the entire quarter.
Right, and Lunt's already on the sideline, and
got the baseball cap on.
Right, and maybe even Riley O'Toole got some clock, but that didn't happen. You needed Lunt to make some nice throws in the fourth quarter to win this ball game. And now you come up against
Western Kentucky, who put up 50-something points against the team they played last week.
Bowling Green, so they
Bowling Green.
There's a local connection there, by the way.
Had something like
Babers.
Had something like 700 yards in total offense, something like that.
Their quarterback threw for 500?
Yeah.
59 yards. Now the weakness of Illinois' defense all of last year is a secondary.
And it will be exposed tomorrow.
And also, the folks who were in the Illini Nation who expected Illinois to be bowl eligible this year, this is one of those 4 games they expected to win.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that, aside from what was happening on the field, and I bring this up because you have tickets in your hand.
Yeah.
Attendance.
Did they even break 30,000 people?
The official attendance was 35,000 and change.
How many people were really there?
That's the reason why I love you, man. I love you, man.
Thank you. Because my brother said he left at halftime. He was going back to the tailgate at halftime. He said he listened to it on the radio because he wasn't impressed.
Right.
At all.
Mm.
We've been preaching about butts and seats for a while.
Yeah. Stadium hold 65, 64, something
Somewhere
like that.
in there, right in there.
And it's half full.
You could have played the game at the Assembly Hall.
And had seats, I think.
Right.
Because typically, on a separate rant, my cable company that I have is based in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Right at 10 o'clock last Sunday, I lost my HD feed. They found it again 30 seconds after the football game went off. But nonetheless, while I was watching it in the low def, you didn't see that required that you see at every football game shot of the crowd.
That panoramic view.
You didn't see it. You saw the press box and 20 rows below that, and that was about it.
Nobody in the upper decks. Oh, they scattered about on them.
There was nobody in the north end zone. None of the students were there.
It looked like a triangle in the north end zone. This is how it looked. Because it was not full. And if you think about what was the ticket offered during the summer about the horseshoe, it was $10
$10 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
$99 for season tickets in the horseshoe.
Now, I know they won. But I think the victory created more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And like you said, now you got the Hilltoppers coming into town.
And this week gonna raise a lot more questions.
Well, I mean, if they
then they go to Washington next week, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they need to come out and spank WKU. I mean, they need just to beat them down. Whether or not they can do that, that's another question.
Right.
Because, once again, you had that Illini connection with the Western Kentucky head coach, Jeff Brom, who was here as quarterbacks coach and all that Brom thing where the brother ended up going to Louisville, or maybe it was him or whoever it was. But, you know, I heard him speaking on the radio yesterday, I think it was, and he said, you know, everybody shouldn't get all excited about this 700 yards in total offense because Bowling Green had no idea. He said Illinois got an idea now.
Right.
So I don't expect us to come out and put up 700 yards of offense again. So we'll see. I mean, Illinois needs to spank them, put some more butts in the seat, and then end up playing well out in Washington. If they don't, you and I talked about this yesterday.
Right.
So
don't West Kentucky do that no huddle type offense?
Yeah, they gotta hurry up.
And you got a defense that was reeling like Illinois was. They're gonna mess around and be sucking air sometime during the first quarter.
Yeah, but versus last year when there was absolutely no depth whatsoever on the defensive line linebackers. Now you got a little bit. And I think it's any better, but you got a body you can plug in there.
And as I said earlier, now to try to give them some positive, teams improve from week 1 to week 2 is kind of exponential, because that first game is the first time you've seen somebody in a different color, somebody who you hit and you don't like. So in terms of playing, you've been playing against your teammates for months.
And you're not blasting your teammates either.
Right.
I don't care what they say.
And so now this is your first time to really get into football mode. And sometimes, I mean, we looked at, some teams came out and put some points on the board, surprised some people like Texas A&M. We talked about that.
Georgia.
Saw Georgia, put it on Clemson, and Florida State and Oklahoma State had a real barn burner. But in the Big Ten, and the fact that you're in the weak division, this is a game. This is kind of that pivot point in terms of, especially getting ready to go out to Pullman, out to Washington to play a team that could be a top 25 team. They were last year, but they've got a new coach and some changes out there.
Yeah, well, they say the Big 12 is the Pac. What was it? The Pac-10. Which one are they?
Pac-12?
Yeah, is the best conference this year in football.
Well, we're gonna find out tomorrow when another Big Ten team, Michigan State, takes on Oregon. What time does the Illinois game kick off tomorrow?
11.
Another 11 o'clock kickoff.
No respect.
The weather.
It's supposed to rain, isn't it?
It was supposed to happen. I think the weather's like a 24-hour delay, because remember today it was temperature was supposed to drop and change.
This evening.
We were supposed to get the fall-like temperatures,
That's
etc.
this evening.
Right, but I'm talking about today. It was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be 73 today, but it didn't.
Beginning of the week, it was supposed to be 73.
Right. But now, that's what I'm saying, that the delay, it's not happening until this evening. And the rain as Mike just pointed out, you know, we may get some rain overnight,
early morning.
and with 11 o'clock start, you know, are we going to get some rain then? And you know, so those are some of the key issues.
Well, we'll check the forecast when we go to break.
We'll do
How's
that.
that?
But with all this being said, and what you just got to see last Saturday, what would you say for tomorrow's game against the
I say
WKU?
I say Illinois is going to have
Good topics.
they're going to have their hands full.
Who wins?
And if they do win, they're going to have to do it, and they're going to have to come from behind to win this game.
Okay, that's real. You went out on a limb on that one, you know.
Western Kentucky.
Pick WKU. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to go? I can
Sure.
pick, yeah, because you're playing there. I think Illinois wins. I think it's closer than a lot of people hope it'll be. And by closer, I mean like 27-24 or something, you know, something similar to that. I mean, I just got to think that big uglies on the offensive line have had a just absolutely hellish week of practice. And the big kid out of Chicago, Simon, however you say his last name, who yelled and screamed at halftime last week.
By who?
I'm sorry, the Illinois offensive tackle, Simon Stovall.
No, I'm saying who he got yelled at by.
No, he was yelling at his fellow
Oh,
offensive
oh.
linemen, saying, you know, y'all are embarrassing. This is embarrassing. So, I mean, if they play up to their ability or their perceived talent level, they should blow UK or Western Kentucky out. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think, but I think they get a win.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Sarge, but I'm gonna go WKU. It's not gonna be a comeback. I think what's gonna occur is the exposure of two things: offensive line for Illinois, and the fact that if they don't rush, I mean, last week they didn't run for over 100 yards.
Yeah, they got that. Yeah.
And if they don't run for over 100 yards tomorrow, that means West Lunt has to throw the ball. And if West Lunt has to throw the ball, you don't want to put a guy like that in a position where he's now the focal point of the team in just week 2. You know, I know everybody expects Lunt to be, this is the Lunt era.
Right.
But I don't think people expected Lunt to be, you know, when you got 2 experienced running backs like you have, and the experience we talked about earlier in the show, I don't think people expected him to have to come out and be Dave Wilson or Tony Eason right out the gate. And because of that, this is where now, you know, those great catches from last week turned into tip balls and interceptions. You know.
Well, the other thing I've never heard anybody talk about is what kind of defenses Western Kentucky has.
Well,
I guess we'll find out in about 24 hours.
there you go. We definitely will. But I'd say WKU 27, Illinois 21. Just to, until I see, you know, Illinois wins tomorrow, okay, Illinois wins.
Right.
But, and here's that but, you gotta see more than what we saw last week.
They got to bump them.
Yeah.
It's going to be something to see. And if you want to see that ball game, I have here in my left hand 2 tickets. You see the University of Illinois play Western Kentucky. Right down front tickets. We're going to take the, what color did we use last time?
We did the third caller the first time and sixth the second
Oh,
time.
yeah. All right. Well, we go in the
Let's do
middle.
The 59th call.
No. That's never going to
Let's see
happen.
if Jazz was paying attention over there.
He looked over here like,
Man, you crazy.
yeah, he can really throw up that middle finger, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So we'll take caller number 3 again. We'll start with caller number 3, 359-9227. Martell Miller, bless his soul. He was talking so much about coming to get his tickets and he never showed up. But that's okay. Somebody went in your place.
Ooh.
That's
Sergeant Rock.
That's what happens when you play around. Because come 5:01, you got to get here before 5. Because at 5:01,
Can't do it.
can't do it. The door locked, and I'm headed down the street. So
Walking
359.
like David Carradine from another Kung Fu episode.
Walking away from here like doing that slow motion walk from the explosion. You know how they do. That's how I walk away from here. You do that slow motion walk as the building blows up behind me.
Gracias.
Yep. 359-922-70. These two tickets will be yours. So we're gonna go to break. When we come back, the NFL got underway last night. Good ball game between Seattle and the Packers, depending on who you was rooting for.
Good ball game for about a quarter.
Yeah, the game was a lot worse than the score claimed. Those Seattle Seahawks are a beast.
But I never take stock in anything in week 1 of the NFL. The season is so long.
All right. Well, we'll go to break, and we'll be back with more Talking Sports right after these.
Welcome back. Talking Sports WBCP 1580. Fighting Illini take on the
Western Kentucky.
West. Yeah, that's who they play. I said
Hilltoppers.
Fighting Illini take on Illinois.
An old picture of Dick Buckus.
He could probably still hurt a lot of people.
He's probably, you know what? One thing I like about Dick Buckus, he's a true alumnus. Because when they ain't playing well,
He'll tell you.
he tells you right.
He dare you to say something.
He gets pissed. So if you want to check out Illinois against the Hilltoppers tomorrow, 11 a.m., Memorial Stadium, 359-9227.
That's the number to call.
Third caller.
Give us a call. Ain't nobody call you. What? Don't nobody want to go see the Illini play?
Oh, man, it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
60 degrees.
About
It's going to be perfect.
about 65 come game time. You might need a hoodie on. No, don't wear no hoodies.
Depends. I can't.
Okay, you can wear a hoodie.
Here we go. Once again, he's safe. We're not.
You know how it goes. Before we get into the second segment here, Talking Sports, I want to give my condolences to the Pearson family.
Yeah.
We lost a friend, a turntable brother, a great individual, the generic DJ, Bobby Pearson. He passed Tuesday morning. Hurt me to my heart when I heard that.
Yeah. Good man. Just,
Yeah, excellent.
you know how sometimes when people pass, people try to be polite and use a.
Yeah.
You say that to Bobby when he was here.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It,
Exactly. He will be missed.
I think if you interviewed 100 people, 100 people would say 100 positive things about him.
Mm-hmm.
May not be the same things, but that's because of all the things he did and the number of people he touched, whether it be as a father,
Excellent father.
husband,
Excellent husband.
fraternity brother. He was a naval man.
Mm-hmm. Comrade.
He was, as you said, a man of music. To me, I think that's one of the things, certain people have a moniker about them. But to be able to call yourself the generic DJ.
And you know why I did it? Because he didn't come with all the bells and whistles.
Right.
He wasn't as conceited as some DJ personalities are. Because
Right.
there's some out there who just a little over the top. But like I say, Bobby didn't come with all the bells and whistles. But if you needed the bells and whistles, he
You
had
bring
them. He had them.
And here's the other thing I'll say. You know how we kind of joke around about old school cool?
Yeah.
He was cool. You know how when you were growing up and you'd see a guy and be like,
He cool.
he's cool. I want to be like that guy. That's just who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, as I said earlier, he touched many, many, many lives.
Yeah, I went and helped him on some events, and we did some events together. And he's just a pleasure to be around.
Right.
Always a good time. So once again, condolences to the Pearson family. We wish them the best. You know, prayers. There will be no Straight Talk Live tomorrow. Matter of fact, most of the we're gonna keep the doors locked tomorrow because most of the staff will be able to attend the homegoing service tomorrow at Salem Baptist Church, and that's at 10 o'clock a.m. So, if you wish to attend, or if you wish to go to that Illinois game, I still got these tickets. Don't nobody want to go, Joe?
Yeah, well, we
I'll
still
get
got
rid-
an hour and 15 minutes.
I'll get rid of them. I'll get rid of them for the day out. Once again, the NFL season got started yesterday. Seattle, Green Bay played last night. I called about the last quarter because I was in here. I was here at the station
Hey, you got the same problem I had earlier.
down here working. You notice these floors out here?
No.
Me and my brother, Richard, we were here last night. He's with First Impressions. We did the floors down there, shining. You can walk barefooted. You can almost eat off the floor.
She said almost.
Yeah, that's because I wouldn't do it.
You can almost eat off your dishes, too.
Mm-hmm. So if you need your floor done, call Richard at First Impressions. He'll get the job done.
Anybody walk barefoot across your dishes?
No,
Your friend girl doesn't walk?
no.
Just
Those are imaginary.
Ah, manta.
No.
Mm-hmm. Catfish.
No.
Week 1, NFL kicked
Y'all
off.
catch the game last night?
I caught enough of it.
Like I said, I caught the last quarter because, like I said, I was here. I pulled it up on the computer. It's just so nice. You just get stuff, just punch it up on the computer, and like there it is. Watch the game live, free.
Nothing's free. That's what
For
they
him
tell
it
you.
is. Remember, for
Oh,
him
I've
it
got
is.
That's
I
the
don't-
motto. If it ain't free,
I don't
I
pay
ain't do
for
it.
it.
I ain't do it.
I don't pay.
I don't
for
pay
it.
for nothing.
I don't pay for nothing. Anyway, I enjoyed what parts I saw of it, and like I said, it looked like it was the beating was a lot worse than it appeared, because I don't think Green Bay scored a touchdown to the fourth quarter. No, they scored one in the first quarter, and then scored another one to the fourth quarter.
It was, I think, expected in the fact that you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions, home opener. They're raising up the Super Bowl banner. The place is filled to the rafters. It's already tough to play there to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've got that added bonus of, and for lack of better, I mean, Seattle came back with basically intact, the same team that won the Super Bowl back in February. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is back healthy, but Green Bay's depleted in the area of, first of all, the wide receiver. Jordy, if you think about Green Bay just when they won the Super Bowl, was it about 5 years ago when they won the Super Bowl? 4 or 5 years. Jordy Nelson was a third option for Aaron Rodgers. They had Greg Jennings,
Yep.
James Jones, Jordy Nelson, Jermichael Finley.
So, yeah, big tight end.
Now Jordy Nelson is really his primary guy. Randall Cobb was a return specialist. And now he's the number 2 option.
But he's the one that caught the early touchdown.
Right. So Green Bay is not, Green Bay in terms of what they had. The other thing is Green Bay's issue for the past couple of years has been their offensive line. And Brian Bulaga, who had been out all last year due to ACL tear,
Didn't he get hurt yesterday?
he sprained his knee when he's blocking a guy and the tight end runs right up his back. He whiplashes back. Tight end screws his knee up. He gives the tight end a stinger, so both of them go down on the same play. The other thing, Eddie Lacy,
He's concussed.
running game wasn't there,
Mm-hmm.
and they never threw one pass to Richard Sherman's side. Not one.
Duh.
I mean, I know he's good, but you got when you
Right.
already have conceded half of the field.
That's
Right.
true. That's true. That's true.
When you concede half of the field,
Especially when your name's Aaron Rodgers.
right? Because Aaron Rodgers, to me, he's got a pair of
Huevitos.
Yeah, he's cocky.
Thank you for changing the
He's cocky
text
too.
on that, sir.
He wouldn't be. He wouldn't have been afraid to throw to his side.
But he didn't.
But he didn't.
That's the thing, Sam. Not one pass. Aaron Rodgers.
You got to at least let Sherman know you know he's over there.
Right.
And throw something in his direction.
Right.
Because he's been waiting, what, 4 months to start yapping again?
That's it. And then he's over there yawning.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But what does that say for Seattle's defense?
It says don't throw to Richard Sherman's
Sherman's
side.
side. And it says that look what happened. They tried to throw at one guy all night, Hamilton.
Right.
He didn't have any problems. And you got Vance Chancellor back there at safety and Earl Thomas. Chancellor is like, okay, if you throw anything inside the numbers, we're going to clean your clock.
And you know, they was probably cheating. They was probably cheating to that side all night too.
Mm-hmm. And then offensively, Russell Wilson.
That's what Russell Wilson does.
You know, sometimes some guys are just anointed to certain, just they get drafted by the right team.
At the right time, the right circumstance,
That's-
the right coach.
He's perfect. He is the perfect quarterback for that team because he doesn't have to do too much of anything. But when he has to do something, he can do it. If he needs to run, if he needs to throw it,
He needs to give it to beast mode.
and he's got thunder and lightning. Percy Harvin
Yeah.
is running a sub 440 because when he catches the ball and turns the corner, he's going to get at least 10 when he touches the ball.
Now,
He
this-
used to play.
He used to play in Florida
Mhm. What,
with Tim
Years
Tebow.
ago, a couple years ago.
Tim Tebow.
when he was hurt a little bit last year, didn't do too much.
He didn't
Yeah, he
play
was
but
hurt.
one game last year against the Minnesota Vikings, and then he played again in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And basically,
Just 2 plays with it.
3 plays. He had more rushing yards just on 2 carries than anybody else had, and he returned the opening kickoff in the second half and basically broke Denver's back and my back too. Peyton Manning's and a lot of other people.
Everybody north of the border.
And you know, he just gives Wilson another weapon for real.
And I mean, as I said before we went to break, week 1, you don't put as good as they looked. You have to be careful in putting too much stock into it. Why? If you go back and watch previous defending Super Bowl champs week 1, whether it be New Orleans or whoever, week 1 they look great. But can you sustain that?
Yeah, there's still 50 more weeks to play.
And it is, as we all know, the NFL, it is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal.
Well, but Seattle's good. They're
Yeah,
really,
they're real
really
good.
So,
I think the thing for Seattle is going to help them is San Francisco has all the issues they got this year. Harbaugh can't get along with management. This will probably be his last year. They can't keep anybody out of prison.
Yeah, we was gonna get to a 9-game suspension a little
Yeah,
later
we'll be
on.
definitely talking about the injuries that happened in the NFC Championship game to Navarro Bowman, top linebacker for them. He's not there. In preseason, they scored their first string offense scored about 2 points.
I think that was a point too many.
I think they scored about as many points as the team from Senegal in the World Cup basketball. But the point is that this, how tough everybody talk about the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that Sam Bradford's out, St. Louis is going to be questionable,
Right.
and now you got basically Arizona, but Arizona lost.
Questionable, 'cause they lost a whole bunch off their defense.
And Crockett got injured with ACL injury during preseason, so he's out. So, the stars are lining up for Seattle right now to make another run. And I'm trying to look at the NFC right now in terms of East, West, North, and South, in terms of who's that team, that's going to kind of rise up. And I'm with you.
Who?
You know, we talk about Chicago. Chicago went there, third game of preseason, and everybody knows that's like a dress rehearsal, and they got thumped.
Yeah.
And everybody talk, you know, this vaunted offense that Trestman was supposed to have. Nothing happened there. Green Bay, we obviously just saw
Got
it.
spanked.
We saw that.
Vikings played Sunday. Adrian Peterson said he's going to run for another touchdown on his first carry.
I wouldn't doubt him,
I don't question anything that Adrian Peterson says at all.
ever.
He is not of this earth,
Yeah, you keep saying it.
and he keeps proving it. Now, one thing is, you know, age 29, this is the point in most running backs' careers where you start to see that precipitous decline.
But as you just said, he's not
Not
of this world.
right, and that's why if anybody can buck that trend, it's him. Now, the interesting thing for Minnesota is you bring in new coaching staff, but you bring in North Turner as the offensive coordinator, and it, you know, everybody keeps saying that Peterson will be put in more passing situations, where he'll be getting a chance to get the ball on the edge, where he won't be between the tackles as much. You know, does Adrian Peterson turn into LaDainian Tomlinson? You
Or
know,
Reggie Bush.
right, where he's catching it on the edge, and does Minnesota? Is it Detroit with Jim Caldwell now, with all that talent they have in Detroit?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we already know New Orleans, great team, a lot of offense. You know, coaches back. Do you get Atlanta? Does Atlanta bounce back?
There are people out there I hear that say that they will. I don't see it.
What about Baltimore?
In the AFC, now that's AFC.
AFC.
I'm just
Oh.
talking about the NFC right now. I'm just trying to think of who right now can challenge Seattle.
Nobody.
I think New Orleans has the best chance because they still have Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, Peyton's back.
Yeah. And they've, you know, with Jimmy Graham, you can put Jimmy Graham in a situation where you now can avoid Richard Sherman and still have he's your primary target. Jimmy Graham is. But they got the kid Cooks, Brandon Cooks
right.
from Oregon State, he runs just as fast as Percy Harvin. You know, so you can match their firepower on offense. Question still comes up: does New Orleans have enough defense? You know, my team, and it may be a year away. I'm still putting the focal point on Tampa Bay. With Lovie Smith going down there, with the defense they had.
Lovie said he was going to have him in the Super Bowl in a few years.
I told a friend of mine that 3 years, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa's in the Super Bowl. Now, they got Josh McCown, the guy who came in for Cutler last year, at quarterback. Vincent Jackson, 6'5" receiver. They got the Evans kid out of Texas A&M, another big receiver.
Hester.
You know, well, no, Devin Hester's in Atlanta.
Oh, that's right.
He went to Atlanta.
Right.
So, you know, and they already had a top 10 defense. And, you know, everybody knows what Lovey can do with his Tampa 2, and now he's in Tampa. So let's see if he can actually do the Tampa 2 in Tampa. He's got his old friend Les Frazier, who was the Vikings coach, as a defensive coordinator. So
who's your Super Bowl pick? About this time last year, you were bold and brave.
well, right now, if you have to just ask me after last night's performance, I got Seattle out of the NFC, even though I got a feeling that's not going to happen. But I'd say Seattle out of the NFC, and out of the AFC, ooh, man.
A lot of folks are chirping about Indianapolis this year because it's Luck's third year.
I think if Indy can get a semblance of a running game, just something that every now and then he can stick the ball in somebody's belly, I can see Luck. I mean, he's the real deal. You know, how they talk about him and RG3 were interchangeable?
No, they ain't.
No, sir. Andrew Luck is Peyton Manning, and RG3 is Ryan Leaf. I don't think RG3, you know, people keep talking about, well, maybe the injury last year. I just don't think he's a quarterback in the sense of an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. He's not the drop back type.
Yeah. And you just can't run around.
Mm-mm. And be effective.
Because the league, these guys are just too fast and they punish you.
Yeah,
You
he's
know.
not that. He's pencil thin. Anyway.
Right. So,
What about Denver?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Denver and Seattle.
It-
Repeated last year, Super Bowl.
that's the I could agree with both of you. It's just the NFL is just so it's been so crazy over the past 5 years, you know, that each year when a team rises up, you're like,
Who?
right. Now Denver was kind of a easy pick last year, but Seattle, the way they came on, you know, they were a playoff team the year prior, but you know,
Okay, do we have to wait for your final 4 picks?
yeah,
Okay.
yes, you do.
All right, on the game Sunday, you got the schedule? I should have printed
It's
it up.
in there, I believe.
Let's look it up and see what they got going.
Da, 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 da.
Only
Minnesota at St. Louis.
on UPTV.
Then you sit there
Yeah.
with the paper.
Get the paper and get
Absolutely.
the schedule.
Hey, it's called Talking
Hey,
Sports.
shout out to the video of the dude behind the camera also.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah. That'd be me. I hope it's running right.
Either that or you just got a red light beeping.
It's blinking, so.
That
Is
means you need a battery or it's picking this
Oh,
up.
wait, yeah, it is blinking twice. Real quick.
Yeah.
Charge it.
You know, I did a rookie mistake when we first came on, but
But Minnesota's at St. Louis.
Bradford's out.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Minnesota, I'm with you. Buffalo's at Chicago.
Ooh.
Now, this will be, you know, an opportunity for that high-powered Bears offense to show out. Buffalo's defense, I don't think will be able to keep up with the Bears. Offensively, Buffalo's too young.
Yeah.
E.J. Manuel, they picked up Sammy Watkins in the draft. You got C.J. Spiller, but I think those guys.
Didn't they get a quarterback, pay him a bunch of money?
E.J. Manuel, wasn't it?
No.
Well, he was drafted last year, first round.
No, they got a veteran.
No.
They ain't. I must have the wrong team. All right,
Yeah, you probably did.
it has happened before.
Hard to say it, but Bears.
Yeah, Bears.
Bears.
Washington at Houston. I just said RG3 is the Ryan Leaf of this draft from 2 years ago.
Houston.
And,
Houston got any better than they did last year?
well, you got Jadeveon Clowney on one side and J.J. Watt on the other
side.
and Brian Cushion in the middle.
And the big tight end's back. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He got hurt again last year, I think. Cushing, or not Cushing. Anyway, I can't think of his name.
Come on, Sarge.
Sometime.
I won't even make
Houston.
it up. Houston, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston. Tennessee at Kansas City. Now, remember Kansas City
Okay.
last year started off 9 in a row. Then they went even and got in the playoffs, lost first round. Tennessee, a lot of issues in terms of who the starting quarterback is down there.
Oh, they still in the league.
They jettisoned Chris Johnson. He's gone to the Jets now.
Kansas City's got better barbecues, so we'll go with Kansas City.
There you go.
Kansas City.
There you go.
All right, I'm with you on that. New Orleans. New Orleans goes to Atlanta. Now, we just talked about all the firepower that New Orleans has, but whenever New Orleans and Atlanta get together, they play some real good football, and home field advantage usually is the deciding factor. The question is, Atlanta's defense was just horrible last year.
And we'll be horrible Sunday.
So
I'm
you
going
think
with New Orleans.
New Orleans comes into Atlanta and beats the Falcons?
Who that?
I'm going with
Yeah.
Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to go ahead and.
Well, just tell me who gets the ball last. I'll tell you who
Well, I can tell you that at about 2:53.
wins. I'll call you.
Okay.
Saints.
Cleveland at Pittsburgh. No Johnny Football.
Cleveland.
Josh Gordon is selling cars.
Yeah. Now, what else you gonna do for the season?
Yeah, but I mean, just think about it.
I got him on my list down here
You
too.
walk in, you got the family with you. You're going to get the family truckster, like off a family vacation.
Buy this car.
Hi, I'm Josh. Oh, you're the doper.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I'll buy a car.
Come from you? Ah! And everybody's laughing at
I
it.
got some Doritos, man.
I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, me too.
I go Cleveland.
Jacksonville at Philly. Now, Shad Khan's team, you know.
Philly, no question.
Right, Philly.
Jacksonville didn't get better this.
They got
That's
better, but, you know,
Had better.
it's.
Jacksonville still doesn't have a quarterback.
Right. Chad, now here's the thing. They draft Blake Bortles, number 3 overall, and have already announced he's not going to play. Even though he looked better than Chad Henne throughout preseason. So that means either Mr. Khan called down and said, hey, I've invested a lot of money in this kid, and until we get better, you're not getting him killed.
Well,
So, Henne, you're on the shopping block. Get on out there.
Well, you know, Mr. Khan's a UI grad, Henny's a Michigan grad, so there may be some of that.
Yeah. Well, I think with all that being said, I'm going with Philly. Oakland travels across the country to play the Jets. Now, whenever a team from the West Coast travels all the way to the Eastern Time Zone, they usually just get destroyed. And I think Derek Carr, being a rookie second-round draft pick, is going to be starter for Oakland. I think the Jets.
But it's the Jets.
no.
Yeah, it's the Jets, but
I don't know.
it's Oakland.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with Oakland.
Cincinnati's at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Ooh, that'll be a good one, I do believe.
You got 2 teams, AFC North. Cincinnati's the up-and-comer, Andy Dalton.
Got a solid defense.
You know, you got a team in Baltimore that, you know, is kind of in that transition stage. You know,
No
Ray
Ray
Lewis. Ray Rice will be out for his 2-game suspension. I think on the road, I think Cincinnati goes in and gets it done. I see the Bengals. New England at Miami.
New England.
Yeah, New England. That's easy.
Tom Brady is 37 years old.
He's got a calf injury, it says on the back page, too. I believe that's the Brady they're talking about.
He'll
But
be out.
still.
He'll be out there playing.
I'm going to say Miami in a mild upset.
Okay.
Joe's starting the year off right with bad picks.
Call me at 3:15 on that one.
All right,
San Francisco at Dallas.
San Fran.
Yeah, that's easy.
I don't know.
Didn't I say Dallas coach gonna be fired by mid-season?
San Francisco, as we just said, scored 7 points in the preseason. Dallas has Tony Romo, injured back and all, Dez Bryant, DeMarco Murray at running back. The defense will stink. Maybe this is an opportunity for a high-scoring game, and maybe the Cowboys pull it out in the end. I'm going to go with the home team, Dallas Cowboys.
All right, that's cool.
How about them Cowboys?
49ers.
Starting the year off right.
Carolina at Tampa. Cam Newton's questionable with the cracked ribs. He said he's on pace to be there on Sunday. But even if he is, who's he going to throw to?
At Tampa, you said?
The game's at Tampa.
Tampa.
I'm going with Tampa, too.
Yeah, me too.
And then Sunday night, a reversal of last year. Last year, Denver had to go to Indy. Peyton Manning's return to Indianapolis.
Right.
And the Colts smacked. That was their first loss, Denver's first loss of the year. Now you open the season up in Denver.
Coach.
No Wes Welker, though.
No, he's
Oh, he's got other
suspended.
people through too.
You know, well, he's got another, but you know, Wes Welker has always been like his
Safety valve. Yeah.
his Linus security blanket.
Right.
But even with all that being said, I agree with you. Got Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas. Well, you lost.
He's got the other white guy.
He went to Jets. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Decker.
Yeah.
Eric Decker is gone.
Right.
But even with all that being said, they picked up Emmanuel Sanders from Pittsburgh to take his spot. It's going to be, I think, a high-scoring affair, but I think Denver pulls it out. I think the difference for Denver this year, no Sean Marino at running back. You got Monty Ball, a former Wisconsin Badger. I think he does.
NCAA touchdown.
I think he does a little bit better in the backfield than no Sean Marino. So I'm going with Denver.
In a close one.
They're very close. So that is
What's Monday night?
Monday night. Don't have it listed. Don't matter. I think it's like San Diego and
Bunch of nobody.
nobody. And but
All right, that-
football's down here from now until February.
Yeah.
You know, we have now come out of the cave.
Every Sunday's gonna be a good Sunday.
Well, no, every
weekend.
right, starting
Yeah.
Thursday.
All right. Last week, Commissioner Roger Goodell sent out his policy on domestic violence, according to the NFL. Not 2 days later, somebody tried it.
Dude must not have had a TV, radio, newspaper,
He didn't-
internet.
Smartphone, dumb
He must have been
phone.
sleeping for 2 days.
He didn't get the memo. How you pronounce his name? Don Smith with the 49ers. I think it was that Saturday, was arrested for domestic battery.
That was McDonald.
Who?
McDonald was the one that was arrested. Smith has already been. He got the 9-game suspension for prior acts of alcohol and substance abuse.
Oh,
Right,
I got the wrong guy then.
Right.
So which one?
Don McDonald.
Oh, McDonald. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, yesterday or Sunday, this past week.
Today's Friday.
All right, last Sunday, Quincy, how you pronounce his last name? Inua.
You did a very good
Sounds
job.
good.
We
We'll
just
take that.
gonna call him Quincy.
Like the old forensics guy.
Yeah.
Dr. Quincy.
Yeah, New York Jets wide receiver Quincy, who was arrested and charged with simple assault Sunday night at a hotel near the team's training facility and was accused of domestic violence against a woman. Court records confirmed the alleged allegation came less than a week after NFL implemented a new domestic violence policy, which includes 6-game suspension for first-time offenders. Quincy's case is under review by the NFL, according to league spokesman Greg Aiello. Quincy, a rookie on the Jets practice squad, was arrested for purposely, knowingly, and recklessly causing bodily injury to an unidentified woman, according to the criminal complaint. He was accused of grabbing the victim by her ankles and pulling her off a bed and causing her to strike and injure both her head and finger.
I already paid you. I said get out.
Send all letters to Sergeant Rock,
Oh yeah, that's about what it was too.
WBCP.
Yeah. That's the best part of having
Yeah. Just keep reading the story.
Right.
A hotel
Never touch
employee.
the third rail.
A hotel employee is called to 911, and a young woman was assaulted, according to the report. He was arrested at the hotel, transported to the police station, booked, and released.
I told you to get out.
So that's 2 players in less than a week
Mhm.
who have been accused of domestic violence.
Mhm.
With the NFL reviewing both cases, and what makes this, you don't have to be charged. I mean, you don't have to be charged, or you don't have to be convicted of this act.
What I would like to know is how does the NFL define the word domestic? Because in criminal law,
Well,
there has to be some kind of
well,
relationship.
if you remember when we was discussing the policy last week, it's about putting your hand on a woman, period.
One could argue if it's not a domestic relationship, then it's not domestic violence. But again, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So look for those guys to be getting 6 games, because I'm pretty sure Roger
they have
Goodell.
to.
I'm pretty sure Roger Goodell is going to be pretty swift with these suspensions.
He has to. He has no choice.
So
All right, I just put the memo out yesterday, and you idiots are doing this.
Mhm.
But I think now, the punishment, the law, the punishment, everything is set. But it goes to what we talked about last week. Now we got to look at causation. Like you just said, I put it out there, and you still do it. So what's the causation? You know, Brandon Marshall, if you think back when he was with Denver, had his own
Issues.
situation. And he talks about the fact that the environment that he came from, parents arguing all the time. He said he saw aggressive women and aggressive men in his family, etc. He said, because somebody asked him what would have happened if this rule would have been around when you got in trouble. He said, who's to say? He said the good thing for him is that he got help, he got counseling, and now he's the guy when situations go on that coaches, players, and even executives come talk to him because the 180 that he's made in his life. So I think now you're going to start to see an area, as I said earlier, about causation. What is it in? Now, we all know, obviously, that everybody wants their NFL player amped.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, on some guys, can they cut the switch off? You guys are military guys. And you know the mindset that some guys, when you went through basic and was in the military, there's some guys who are always on kill mode.
They're the ones you didn't hang around with.
And that's my point. You couldn't hang around with them
No,
because you
didn't.
knew
Yeah.
they were going to get in some stuff.
They were too far from trouble.
They either A, you go to a bar and everybody's having a good time. Next thing you know, he's had 2 beers. He's ready. One, and he's ready to fight everybody in the bar. Yeah. And then the group has to take him out. Or he's at home and you hear, man, did you hear about Bill? Yeah, MPs had to go get him.
It reminded me of this dude we had in our platoon, first platoon. You might remember him. Little bitty skinny dude. He couldn't weigh a buck wet, soaking wet, right?
Right.
He was the only one that wore body armor. He had these black gloves with the little thingies in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wore a pair of those. Like I said, the only one that wore body armor. But he worked in the station.
But he was ready.
Yeah. Always ready. Big smack talker, too.
Right.
And you know, you just look at him. Dude.
Stop before you get hurt.
Yeah,
Right.
please.
And you go like this.
Yeah.
Blow him back. But
And he worked in the radio room. That was.
I remember you talking about.
You know who I'm talking about?
I can't remember his name. I know who
I
you're
can't remember his name
talking
either.
about. Picture's clear as day.
But see, now, that's my point. A guy like that, so think about now, we obviously not at the same level of intensity, but take it to the NFL where, you know, guys are, you know, ready to go. They got to carry this tough macho bravado all the time. I'm an NFL player. I'm tough.
But when you get with a woman, Joe, you got to be suave and smooth. Cause you
Says
know,
the man with all the imaginary girlfriends.
yeah. Well, how you think I got him?
Never met a woman he didn't like.
But you know what I'm saying.
You have no idea
How can you go in there to be with a woman and be all macho and I mean,
The same-
I can imagine, but you know, I guess that depends on what you're trying to do.
Right, but now your brain, and that's why I said about causation. The same reason why you would say, who the heck robs a bank? Who goes into a bank in the
No,
broad
cameras
everywhere?
Cause I need money.
Right.
Causation.
But what's the likelihood of you robbing the bank and getting away with it?
And not getting dye all over you.
Right. And that's my point about what's going on mentally with that athlete that gets into that situation with that female. And I think that's where, you know, the punishment's in place. There's going to be some guys.
And the programs are in place too. If you step up and go,
Hey, I need some help. But how many? Now let's go to the machismo.
Right.
How many men are going to step up? Man, I ain't got no problem.
Right.
I'm a man.
Well, but
You know,
Come here,
everybody-
Sharice.
Everybody gonna look at you a little differently.
And there go Crazy Sarge.
Yeah.
well, and that's why what Martin did last year was so significant in that world.
Thank you.
And I think that Goodell's counting on, for lack of a better term, these young testosterone-filled, angry young men who are obviously bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else in their life to be emotionally mature enough to turn the switch off. And that's hard sometimes.
And that's my point, is that,
Yeah.
now think about this.
Well, but on the flip side of that, their partner, whomever, whether it's their wife or longtime girlfriend, whatever it may be, he's also counting on them, and I know there's instances where it would apply, but counting on them to the two of them to be able to have that conversation and go, look, we get done playing at 3 o'clock Sunday, you give me till 6, and then we'll do our things, or you give me till 5 or whatever, and everybody
Right.
to be okay with that, which is where I think the programs will come in and help a lot of folks.
But don't you think another problem is a lot of these guys feel privileged?
Oh, absolutely. And they all got egos.
Yeah.
You have
all
to
that,
be where
all
they're
that
at.
ego, and then you get with a woman that says, talks back with you, talks back to you.
Do you know who I am?
But
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
where the emotional maturity part comes in, that Goodell's counting on.
I'm Alden Smith. I'm Ray McDonald.
I'm Ray Rice.
I'm Sergeant Rock.
So,
I already
So?
paid you. I said get out.
Right, and see, so now what happens?
yeah, 6 games.
So I think this is where the next step of the conversation is going to have to be in the NFL is where do you go? Causation, counseling, and I think you're starting to see, as we talk, with the changes within the game, in terms of, not allowing guys to do the kill shot hits that we used to see growing up where guys could,
The Jack Tatums of the world.
there you go, guy come across the middle and get his head knocked off, and that was just a football play.
Mhm.
Those players are being removed. Certain areas of the body you just can't take a shot at. And I think by reducing the target area on where you can tackle and things like that will help in terms of where you go with that intensity. But I think the other area, which to me the biggest area, substance abuse in all areas. Not just, you hear about a Josh Gordon, weed 4 times, so now he's got to sit out a year. But alcohol, PEDs, all these things are going to have to go under an umbrella.
But they won't do alcohol because owners drink it.
Not only the owners drink it, but who sponsors?
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you cut on, what are the 2 things you see on Sunday?
My buddy.
And what's the other thing you see? Something for your buddy.
Mhm.
Male enhancement and alcohol.
And Budweiser.
Right. So you can either get Cialis, Viagra, what was it? What's the other one?
Cialis.
Cialis. Oh, sorry.
Cialis.
Sorry, John Holmes.
No. Not quite.
Anyway, it's about time to take another break. We're going to stick with the NFL. And, speaking of suspensions, Goodell threw out 38 players will not be starting the season this year. I got the whole list right here, Joe.
Wow.
And if you got some of these guys on your fantasy team,
You might want to find a backup.
yep, you might want to find a backup. So we're going to take this break. I still got these tickets to give away. Please, somebody call because, I'm going to the homegoing service, so I won't be able to go. So I'm going to be giving away my tickets. 359-9227. Give us first caller.
There you go.
Whoever can get them digits going.
3599227 first ring.
Yep, you get these tickets. Just
Illinois,
say,
Western Kentucky, 11 a.m. start.
Going to be a good ball game. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll let you know who's on suspension. One NFL player, coach, Jim Irsay, he got his punishment. For what? Got some of the players a little peeved, too.
They should be.
So we'll be back right after these.
Welcome back. Last half hour, Talk Sports, WBCP 1580.
Man, it's hot out.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
Gee.
Never eat 2 double cheeseburgers in the heat like this. If you know what I'm saying.
Will it mess you up?
I ain't gonna say.
No,
He wasn't paying attention the last word.
obviously not.
Man, it's hotter than my ex-wife was when she found out about the other bank account.
What, there was nothing in it?
Right. That's what when he said that, I'm picturing her. What do you mean 50 cents?
I thought you said there was $1 in here.
Yeah.
No, that was a kept secret.
You were siphoning money, huh?
Huh?
You were living a dual life.
I was saving for a rainy day.
What would it be, partly cloudy? Never
A
rain.
really quick rain.
Right. He had fog in his life.
I was saving for a rainy day.
Hotter than your ex-wife.
Came too when she found out about it. Wow. I used it to move. That's the reason why you save your money, people.
Is that what it is?
You never know.
Get out of jail fund?
You never know. Wow. Anyway, that was just a joke.
So now you're living in that palatial estate,
Yeah, yes.
40 acres and a mule.
Yeah, 40 acres, no mule. Got a possum, a couple stray cats,
Squirrel.
squirrels all over the doggone place.
That reminds me of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Mm-hmm.
They're an Easter band, man.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Well,
at.
it is black gold
Texas
tea.
tea.
Down. You got a banjo?
No,
You got a cousin, Ellie Mae?
no.
Oh, damn it.
Got a granny, though.
Oh,
You can keep her.
you're right.
She's the best one on the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know what she told me. She was my favorite character anyway.
She the one you stroll down the beach with?
Leaving footprints.
Y'all would like that, wouldn't you? Y'all would like that, wouldn't you?
You couldn't see her footprints because something was dragging behind her. Swept away. There's only one set of footprints. There's two people.
Man,
All right, we move forward. I digress.
Y'all stupid.
Suspend. Tell Goodell to suspend me.
Y'all stupid.
Yeah, we are.
thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you recognizing our
All right.
talents.
All right, here we go. The NFL season has opened up, and 36 players, 6 of whom are unsigned, an owner and a coach will be serving suspensions. 9 teams have 2 players suspensions. So here we go. If any of these players are
Check your
on
fantasy team.
on your fantasy team, you need to look for a trade or get somebody else to take their place. Jacksonville, Justin Blackman, he's suspended indefinitely. Now, what he do? If any
He's
of
a
you guys
weed guy. He's another weed guy. Justin Blackman was a top 10 draft pick coming out of Oklahoma State to Jacksonville. He was like, remember Dez Bryant came out of Oklahoma State. He was better than Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Big, strong, fat, that can't miss receiver. And now he's smoked his way basically out of the league.
And Ace Sanders. Never heard of him.
He was a kick returner from South Carolina.
Okay, they're suspended 4 games each. I mean, Ace Sanders 4 games, Justin Blackman indefinitely. Washington, Tenard Jackson indefinite. Brandon Merriweather for 2 games.
Brandon Merriweather is the safety for the Redskin who repeatedly has been fined for headhunting
Yeah.
to the point where guys in the league are sick of him.
Oh yeah, you one of those, huh?
Right, he just, he went after Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall crazy.
Yeah.
I ain't saying he was cured. He just got counseled.
Cleveland's Josh Gordon. You know why he's out for the season.
Right.
Marlon Moore, 1 game. And Baltimore's William Hill, 6 games. What'd he do? If you know who he is.
Will Hill?
Will Hill.
Will through.
I couldn't tell you.
Ray Rice, you know what he done, 2 games. In New England, Brian Titus and Brandon Browner, 4 games each.
Probably substance abuse.
I'm thinking a lot of these are. Miami's Deion Jordan and Richard Jones, 4 games each. Kansas City's Donald Stetson, 4 games. Dwayne Bowe, 1 game. New York Giants, Eric Herman and Jaron Hosley, 4 games each. Denver's Matt Prather and Wes Welker, 4 games each. And I know Welker was
PED.
PED, yeah.
Welker was what Welker did was he was down at the Kentucky Derby and he was popping mollies. And if you watch the video, he had the ticket that alleged. I remember you did this story. Welker
we
cashed
won the
in the
money.
ticket,
Yeah.
and then they said it was wrong, and he wouldn't get the money back.
Right.
And they got video of Welker down there sweating like a mule, passing money out throwing hundreds around. And then he comes back when they announced the other day that he'd be suspended for amphetamines. He's like, I'll never take. When you watch that video, mint juleps don't make you act like that.
And it wasn't that hot and low.
No.
So, all right.
And Prather is a punter, a kicker.
Yeah. All right. Teams with only one player suspended. Arizona, Darrell Washington. He's out for the season. What do you do? All right. San Francisco's Aldon Smith, 9 games.
His was DUI and
Gun
charge. And
a couple other things.
Just thugging.
just thugging out.
Just
Being
thugging.
you. Being you.
Just don't get caught. Carolina's Frank Alexander, 4 games. Philadelphia, Lane Johnson, 4 games. Indianapolis, Robert Mathis, 4 games. Stedman Bailey of St. Louis, 4 games. Jerome Simpson, Minnesota, 3 games.
He got caught a second DUI.
Okay. Nigel Bradham from Buffalo's 1 game. Unsigned free agents include Fred Davis, indefinite. Avon Brazil, he's out for the season. Brandon Moore, 4 games. Jake Knox, 4 games. Spencer Neely, 4 games. And the coach owner Jim Irsay is serving 6-game suspensions, while Minnesota special team coach Mike Pfeiffer is serving a 3-game suspension. Now they gave Irsay a 6-game suspension and fined him a $500,000 for his DUI case.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players are not happy about that.
And rightfully so.
And why?
Why? Well, let's look at it from the financial standpoint. Usually a punishment, a fine, is a punitive thing that is given to you basically to punish you for whatever transgressions you had. He's the owner of the team. So obviously he's got a few more dollars than a player. You hit a player with a $500,000 fine, which a lot of these guys get hit with.
That's a lot of money.
That is. Now, if they'd hit him with a $5 million fine, maybe I think players would probably be like, okay. Now, what is the cloak that Goodell hides behind whenever this?
CBA.
That's it. Collective bargaining agreement specifically states Section 7, Article 3-A 493.
Well, is there a reason why they're in place?
Rules are there, but as a commissioner, we go back to the Ray Rice. What did we say? Stand up and send a message. Even if it gets argued back down to the $500,000, stand up and say, this is, if we're going to punish players, owners have to be, it has to be analogous in terms of how much you are worth financially.
Well, and the other thing is as a commissioner, he's an employee punishing one of his bosses.
Right.
So that may have played into it. I don't know.
Probably did. I mean, you want to keep your $30 million
A year
job, $500,000. You know, players, they come and go.
Yeah.
Owners are here to stay.
Right.
Now, I think one of the things, just like what changed with the domestic violence penalty, is probably going to have to change in terms of penalty for owners involved in this type of behavior.
Yeah, Titan safety Michael Griffin says, what does it do actually to the team? Suspend him for 6 games. He can still watch at home. He's on vacation. $500,000 just lets you know how much he's actually making.
Right. Now, that 6-game deal, that me and Mike talked about that during the break. I agree. How does that hurt the Colts? Because you think about when you pull a player off the field for 6 games, that can affect the performance of the team on the field.
Right.
But the owner, the only area that you really can hurt him is in his pocketbook. So are you saying 6 games? When I say 6 games, are we saying financial revenue that the Colts,
those 6 games.
for those 6 games? You know, think about it. The revenue sharing that the NFL does with TV and profit sharing and all that, Can you say that, hey, for 6 games, the Colts will not receive revenue share?
I would think they would almost have to. I would think, because you take money out of a player's pocket for 6 games or
Right.
4 games, whatever. All those guys Sergeant just named aren't getting paid for those 4
Right.
games.
No.
So I would think that you'd have to punish him somehow that way, besides the $500,000 fine.
Well, it says he cannot attend any games or practices and is not allowed to be at the team facilities until the day after Indianapolis game against Houston, Texas on October 9th. He's also banned from using social media in any fashion regarding the Colts or the NFL.
Here, hold your hand out.
No Twitter, no Facebook for Jim Irsay. Now you sound like you're punishing a teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then how often is Irsay on Twitter or Facebook anyway?
But even if he is, he can't use the social media affiliated with the NFL. But if he's got his own Twitter handle, he can still tweet. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
He just can't.
give me your phone, young
He
lady.
can't tweet about the team.
Oh, so he'll tweet about the drugs he's using while he's on
He can do-
suspension.
That's what he's probably going to do. Watching the Colts game.
Right, while having a drink.
Oh, good old boy. Let's move on to some more NFL news. You know, the Oakland Raiders have agreed to pay $1.25 million to settle a lawsuit alleging they failed to pay their cheerleaders minimum wage. Remember, we had that story a while back.
Right.
The settlement covers 90 Raiderettes who worked for the team from 2010 to 2013. The proposal calls for each cheerleader to be paid an average of $6,000 for each season worked from 2010 to 2012 and $2,500 for the 2013 season to cover unpaid expenses and minimum wage.
Okay. $8,500.
So, you know, here for the Oakland.
And it'll probably be taxed as a bonus. So there's 40% of that gone. And they got to pay the lawyers,
Right.
so they get about
Well,
$500.
This is a class action suit. But, you know, at least the Raiderettes are going to get their money.
All $500.
It is said that the cost of $641, the San Francisco 49ers now have the highest paid estimated price in the NFL for a family of 4 to attend the game.
That's why Levi's are so expensive. They pay for that stadium.
That is a lot of money for one Sunday afternoon.
Say that number again.
$641.
Say that number again.
$641.
So what have I been saying to you about the people in the stadium or what? The television studio audience.
Mm-hmm. The
The
ticket.
ga-
Go ahead.
Well, the point is, the emphasis is now on viewership at home.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care if the average family of 4 can come to the game.
Well, and the other thing is they can charge those prices because that's a fairly well-to-do area of the country, too.
Right. And if you
Yeah,
and
that's
you
true.
think about people who go to NFL games, when you talk about that average price, it's not the family of 4. It's 4 guys.
Right.
So you break it down, you're looking at what, $150 each for each guy to go to the game, you know, with his buddies. You know, the days of dad loading up the station wagon with the family and everybody got the foamy #1 finger and
Well, that's what they said here. The price includes parking, 4 average price tickets, 2 programs, 2 beers, 2 hats, 4 soft drinks, and 4 hot dogs.
Yeah.
That's for the family.
Who eats one hot dog?
I don't know.
Well, it does the prices, yeah, I can see.
Yeah. It says the ticket is the second most expensive in the league, behind only the New England Patriots, whose average ticket price is this year is $122.
Again, another wealthy part of the country.
think about $122 ticket, 8 weeks.
Right.
That's 10 grand
Right.
just for the ticket.
You're better off going to getting season tickets for a baseball
Well,
game.
check it out.
Now I'm going to go back to the NFL ticket. I think I was sharing this with you about how DirecTV and NFL, you now as an individual say, well, screw that. I'm not going and spending that kind of money. I'm gonna stay at home.
Spend $300 with DirecTV.
Bingo! You're still
You're
paying,
getting all the games.
right? But you're still paying the set price that you would pay if you went to your home team's games. So they're going to get you either way. But I go back to now what they're trying to produce, a TV show.
Well, it just depends on how comfortable you want to be, too.
Yeah.
All right, the highest price average non-premium seat for the 2014 season.
That's
Like I said, the Patriots are highest at 122, 49 second with 117, Giants 111, Cowboys 110, Bears average non-premium seat $108. Then you got the Jets, Redskins, Ravens, Eagles, Texans.
when the last time you've been to a professional game?
Oh man, I can't remember.
Just remember, you don't pay for that.
Oh,
Didn't pay for nothing.
so it doesn't even matter.
Nope.
Okay. Last experience, Soldier Field, Vikings, Bears. 5 years ago. Sitting, we were high enough we could see Lake Michigan.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
Nosebleed.
Right, just to give you an idea, we were in the Vikings family section. And between parking, 2 tickets, I think a cold Budweiser was like 8.25.
Yeah. 12 ounce.
Nah, I think they give you the 20 ounce. You know, I think they give you a nice size, but 8.25. You know, so a day at the park can get super expensive.
Super quick.
You know, so the question you asked, who eats one hot dog? Me.
This
When
game
you-
starts at 11. We should hit the restaurant by 10 at the latest.
But check it out. Cleveland has the lowest price ticket at $54.20.
Have you seen
been
it?
to Cleveland
Have you been to
lately?
Cleveland? And have you seen their fans? I think that's the way you would couch that.
Okay,
Well, it's nice to know, though.
The Cowboys keep the title for most expensive team parking spot at $75. Arizona Cardinals at 60 cents an ounce has the highest priced beer. Most expensive hot dog can be found in Oakland at $6.75
For a hot dog.
for a hot dog.
And you know what's crazy about what we're
60 cents per ounce for the same beer you can go to a liquor store and get for $3
Okay, cheapest team parking at $11 at Detroit Lions games. Cincinnati Bengals at 36 cents an ounce for the least expensive beer.
right.
Cheapest hot dog can be found in New England, where they're only $3.75, but they making that up in the ticket price.
Yeah.
So there are the prices. So when you decide to go to an NFL game, go see Cleveland play.
Right. But that also, you know, it just goes to show you how the NFL, they know that their goal, average stadium seats what, about 65, 70,000.
Something like that.
So that's all you got to get. And you only got to get those folks for, like I said, 8 games. But as long as we get the millions sitting at home and buying the products that we see on TV, which is, you said, the Budweisers and the male enhancement and the snacks. As long as people are doing that, NFL is A-okay.
Yeah. Final story just for the.
Real quick before you get off the NFL, real quick, just 2 other local bits of news. Mikel Desure was cut by the Lions this week. I think he got picked up, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And Josh Brent was conditionally reinstated to the NFL.
10
Yeah,
game.
yeah, he got a 10-game suspension. I didn't mention that.
Nope. But yeah, he's got a 10-game suspension, and then he'll be able to saddle back up with the Cowboys,
All
And
right.
the Cowboys welcome him, by the way. Welcome him back.
just like they welcome Michael Saint.
Yes.
Just for the hell of it, or because they have to, Florida State has begun conducting a required investigation in Jameis Winston on his accused rape by a female student. something to do with the Title IX investigation, and school officials interviewed the woman for the first time in early August. She initially reported the alleged rape to police in December 2012. The woman's attorney said the interview with USA Today and ESPN.com, and they say it was surprised by the timing of the investigation, but that is what the school was required to do all along. Meaning they should have been and did that.
Title IX requires you to do an investigation within 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
The allegation was done in December 2012.
Here it is, 2014.
Florida State can get into a lot of hot water for violating Title IX. Regardless of what happens here, which is unfortunate in the fact that this young lady brought the allegation, district attorney decided not to pursue it. Florida State's argument was, well, Jameis Winston didn't want to cooperate. Are you kidding me? He was a red shirt when this happened. He wasn't even playing.
And quite frankly, it doesn't matter if he didn't want
To.
to cooperate.
Right.
He has to. Or you as Florida State say, hey, Jameis Winston,
You gotta go.
you got to go. But let's see here. In Tallahassee, where the goal is what? National championships?
So you look for the NCAA to come down on Florida State.
NCAA won't do anything on this. Title IX, the federal
Feds
government.
might.
Federal
Feds
government can come down on Florida State.
This is required by all schools in sexual assault cases of females.
Exactly. But guess what? There's a lot of schools out there that don't do it. 1 in 4 females will be assaulted on a college campus. That is the worst place based on sexual behavior.
Well, what do you expect when you got a lot of
You
kids?
expect kids to act right is what you expect.
Well, come on now.
You got a daughter.
You,
You got a daughter.
I'm in jail.
But you got a daughter.
I'm in jail.
Do you think you would expect a little bit more of the young men around your daughter? And would you expect, if you relinquish your daughter to a university or college in the United States, that there would be some safeguards there for her?
Yes.
That's all I'm saying now.
Still be in jail.
Right. But my point is, something happens to your daughter, she should have some type of recourse.
Right.
And here it is.
5 years later, 3 years later.
Right. Do we know what happened? Like I said, there's been, extreme stories on one side and the other. The boyfriend of the woman invited, it's been all types of. But the bottom line is, Florida State dropped the ball on their end in terms of what should have occurred from December 2012 to February 2013.
All right.
And we wouldn't be talking about that.
All right, we got 5 minutes, local stuff. Who's playing tonight?
High school football locally.
Everybody's playing.
Champaign Centennial, after beating Morton 62-14 last week in a postponed game. It was postponed due to weather last Friday, and so they finished the game on Saturday. Play.
How do you finish a football game?
Well, it was postponed in the first quarter.
Oh.
So it was like 6 minutes gone in the first quarter. So they just went back and started. It was a 6-6 game from that point. And Centennial put a shellacking on Morton and won 62-14. They take on Marion, who lost last Friday to Champaign Central. Same Tommy Stewart Field. Champaign Central beat Marion 26-14. And now they're on the road to Dunlap, which is over in the Morton area, Peoria area. And then Urbana takes on Morton.
Go Tigers.
After losing last week over in Normal to Normal UI 27-12, they now take on the team that Centennial beat. So kind of almost like a round robin
Right.
type deal. So I know we talked before last week about getting out, seeing some local high school football. So now, Urbana folks, get on over there to McKinley Field,
McKinley Field.
which is to be funny in the fact that when you say McKinley Field, most folks from Champaign think about New Street and
Yep.
you know that side. But get to McKinley Field, and if you're not a Tiger fan and you're not going to Dunlap to see the Maroons, get on over to Tommy Stewart Field
Unit 4 field.
and see Champaign Centennial take on the Marion Wildcats. It'll be interesting to see because after scoring 62 points, you know, at that high school level, thinking about the mind of a teenage athlete,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a let down or
Overconfident.
overconfident?
We can do this every game.
Right. And you're playing at home in front of family and
your
friends. So now the pressure kind of amps up a little bit. But you think about what Centennial has. They've got University of Illinois recruit Jimmy Fitzgerald playing quarterback. You got Stephen Lee, Northern Illinois recruit, playing wide receiver. Dominic Stampley, Julian Hess, Kyrie Sago. You know, that team is loaded. Colin DuBose on defense. Centennial's loaded. They got about 20 seniors on that team.
And they've all been playing all 3 years, too.
They're ranked, I think, 6th or 5th in Class 6A. So, if you're looking for something to do, I know it's a little muggy right now,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but, you know, as the sun goes down, so does the temperature.
Hopefully.
Get on over there and check out the Champaign Centennial Chargers or McKinley Field and check out their Urbana Tigers. See if the Tigers can put one on the board in week 2.
All right, got another set of tickets to give away before we get up out of here. I gave Jazz a pair of tickets.
Oh, that's nice.
Him and his mama can go to the
Go
game.
out to the game, sit out there at 11 o'clock, enjoy the
You gonna take your mama, Jazz, right? You ain't gonna take one of them girls, right?
Jazz say, them girls ain't loyal, is what Jazz said. Mama loyal, them girls ain't loyal.
Them girls ain't loyal.
Oh.
Where they come up with that at? You hear that a lot lately.
It's, you know, it's a song, you know, these rappers today, they say something and everybody's saying it.
They ain't loyal.
One quick note, at the beginning of the show, we gave our condolences to the Pearson family. I also want to give our condolences to the Nesbitt family. You know, the Nesbitt family lost Dorothy Nesbitt late last week, and you know they lost Duke Russell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who they had his service just recently, and when you know as you have great relationships with a lot of families in town, and when you see the loss of multiple individuals of families that you know and you know well,
Right.
you know the pain that they're going through and losing a loved one, and you just want to extend your hand and say if there's anything that you can do, but you know, just hope and pray the best for the family and you know, see them come out of these situations. So,
A lot of people leaving here, Joe.
yeah. Yes, it is, and so you just want to make sure that you know everybody's okay. And
Joan Rivers. Somebody else.
I wonder what joke she tells when she gets to the pearly gates.
I don't know.
You're half the place won't like it, and the other half will love it.
Funniest joke I heard her tell. She said that they asked a death row inmate for his last request, would he like to see Joan? The death row inmate said, "I'll pass." Only Joan Rivers. You know,
she didn't mind talking about herself.
she didn't mind talking about anybody.
Anybody.
And I think one of the things, if you can enjoy that, if you can understand that type of comedy, and think about the era where she comes from, and you think about a guy like Don Rickles,
Yeah.
and you think about a Joan Rivers, you know, Jonathan Winters, Henny Youngman, those comedians, everything was fair game.
Everything.
And the reason why everything was fair game, if you really think about it in the context of comedy, their goal was, hey,
Make you laugh.
that's it. Sometimes we take things a little too serious, and did they offend people? Yes. But the offense was not to be purposeful. The offense was if you didn't understand the fact it's about laughing at yourself. You know. I mean, she said a joke, you know, about the girls in Cleveland who were kidnapped for all those years.
She called a lot of fire.
Like
Yeah,
on
she
that,
did.
because she talked about the fact she had a place that had less space than what they had. You know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people gave her grief on that, and they asked her to apologize. She said no.
No.
Because even comedy comes from tragedy.
Yes.
And that's the point that a lot of these older comedians are trying to get people to understand, is that's where comedy comes from. That's why you see the masks. And the one is smiling and the one is crying. Because comedy comes from tragedy.
Lisa Dixon will be proud of you, sir.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Surely would, wouldn't it?
people understand that you can laugh at yourself even in the most tragic situations. So, ended on a good note.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Talking Sports. We do this each and every Friday from 2 to 4. We'll lace them up and do it again next week. We'll see you then. Michael?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Joseph?
Huh?
I'm going to laugh at you. Because you're tragic. That's it. We'll see.